Hey, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my review for Spider-Man Far From Home, the brand new Spider-Man film, the sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. Just saw it last night, and I gotta tell you, this is a movie I'm gonna have to watch more than once, for sure. I mean, there are so many things I think I missed on the first way around because it was such a confusing, just all over the place film. In a good way, though. Not all over the place in a bad way. Like, sometimes that phrase is used in a bad way. But it was all over the place in a way that I enjoyed a lot. This is easily, I'm going to say right now, my favorite Spider-Man film of all time. It could change after rewatching it. I don't know. It could just be the honeymoon phase. I don't know. But I loved it. There's things I didn't like, though, of course, and I think I gotta mention that because it's just, something you have to mention, of course. The majority of it I love, though. I'll get into the negatives first, just to get the negatives out of the way, I guess, because no one likes to hear negatives, no one likes a negative person. Okay, so I think some of the action sequences were kind of a little bit bad. I mean, the CGI wasn't the best. It kind of felt like it was all animated in some points. And I had the same problem with Spider-Man Homecoming. There was a few scenes where it was like the suit was just overly CGI and it doesn't feel real at all. I think The Amazing Spider-Man had some really good CGI sequences, which people completely yell at me for because they think everything that The Amazing Spider-Man did was awful. But no, I think The Amazing Spider-Man had some good things to it, and their CGI sequences, their action sequences, really well done, especially their web swinging scenes. But I don't know, something about the CGI and just some of the sequences. Some of them were just fine, but some of them it felt really just not good. But I was able to get over it because of everything else that was so great. Now, the villain, Mysterio. Villains are one of the most important parts to a superhero movie. It can make or break a superhero movie. I think Mysterio, at first, I was just like, what the hell? I mean, I expected, obviously, him to turn evil or something to happen, that he was truly a villain. Obviously, because of the comics, because of what we know about Mysterio from, cartoons, comics, all that stuff. But I was just so, just the way they did it was just odd. And then they most of the time when villains are just yelling out exposition, I think that's a bad thing. But the way that they portrayed him yelling out exposition was actually well done. I didn't complain about it at all. I didn't think it was a problem when he was yelling out basically the whole plan that he had within the bar. Yeah, it felt like they were just throwing us, the details and just telling us exactly what's going to happen rather than showing us. But they did it in a way that felt real and it felt authentic. It didn't feel like it was just because of, the plot demands it sort of a thing, right? I guess a negative that I followed through with the villain is the fact that he's not really, his just, the way he does things, it's weird. I don't know, because, he created these monsters, right? But they're not real. So it's it's just so different than what we're used to, and yeah, that's not a negative in every sense of the imagination, because this guy doesn't really have any powers by any sense, neither does he really have anything that's really, overpowered, until he gets Edith, of course, and then he can control these drones, which completely changes everything, and turns basically himself into a threat that can kill a lot. I do like how, even though it was after Endgame, which had some of the biggest, easily the biggest threat within the MCU, they still managed to make even smaller threats seem really insane. And the reason why, and it's such a simple thing that they need to do, is they need to make the main characters either love interest or friends in danger. And they did a really good job with Mysterio or Quentin Beck, whatever the hell you want to call him, targeting MJ, Ned, and is that character's name Betty? I thought it was Gwen. I thought it was like their version of Gwen Stacy at first, but no, it's Betty Brant, I think. And targeting them, that raises the stakes, because when you just target Spider-Man, it's like, how could we all know Spider-Man's not going to die? I mean, I knew that the other characters wouldn't die either. I mean, it's just a Spider-Man movie. They're not going to have them die like that. Well, I mean, I guess Amazing Spider-Man 2. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a lot different. That was like a dark movie, dude. They really went with a dark angle with that. But the MCU, Spider-Man, I don't think they're going to go with a dark angle for any of their films. Unless this whole thing was so interesting at the end of the film. I'll get into the after credits in just a minute, but that was huge, and I was like, holy shit, for a little bit. That was awesome. But I did like how they made Mysterio, even though his threat value doesn't seem that huge. Like, he doesn't really have an army of anything. He has the army of the drones. That's it, And then of course he has himself, which he's just a person. He's just a person with some capabilities of creating visuals for people, illusions that they're not actually seeing, which is interesting as hell. Those sequences were really well done when they were putting Spider-Man, when he was getting put through the weird illusions. Those were really cool, especially with when Tony Stark as a zombie came out of the grave. That was awesome. Loved that. The relationship between Peter and MJ, I actually liked it. I mean, I didn't think I was going to like it. It wasn't better than Peter and Gwen in The Amazing Spider-Man. I think that's the one thing The Amazing Spider-Man 100% did better than every other Spider-Man series, is Peter and Gwen's relationship, and their chemistry and stuff like that worked really well. Didn't really like Tobey Maguire's relationship with MJ. It was just, I didn't like it at all. But this actually worked for me. It felt real. I do like how Peter's all awkward and she's all awkward too. It kind of works, and it felt real, and I was okay with it. And I like how they didn't make MJ's character in this film like how she was in Homecoming, because I hated her character in Homecoming. She was literally just there to make stupid, just SJW type lines every scene she was in Homecoming, and I'm just like, bro, she's just annoying me. But this film, they actually made her likable, and I actually was okay with her, and I didn't mind her at all, and I think their relationship works, and I'm happy with it. The comedy in this movie was great. Some of the best comedy we've had in any MCU movie, in my opinion. I love the beginning sequence, how they made the blip, which is what they're calling it, the vanishing of all the people. I like how they had that clip during the band practice in the gym, and people were just disappearing, and then they came back out of nowhere and bumped into it. That was hilarious. I love that a lot. But it was so interesting how they had to handle that, how they were showing it on, the school thingy, and how people were aging because they didn't get vanished, and they were, obviously living throughout time. So they're 5 years older, and then they got people who are 5 years old. I like how they handled that. They explained it really well, and they explained it in a way that didn't feel like they were just throwing us exposition. Again, they explained things that, normally we would just want to see, but there's a lot of dumbasses who watch the MCU, and especially for people who maybe just didn't see Endgame. I mean, imagine the people who only go to see the Spider-Man films, and they do not watch Avengers Endgame, they do not watch Infinity War, they just go to see, they would be so goddamn confused from one movie to the next. But I think they do a good way of handling it by explaining what the hell happened in some, a short sort of a way. I mean, the MCU, you can't look at the MCU as separate films. You have to look at it as a whole universe, as a whole. It's a whole franchise. You gotta watch all of them. If you don't, you're just... I mean, there's a few here and there you could probably skip. But, even the little ones that you think you could probably skip and you will be fine with watching Spider-Man and you can get away with it. For example, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is probably one of the films I wouldn't, think you really needed to watch. It's not that important. Some things are, some things really aren't. Most of the film isn't. But you would be confused as hell in that second end credit scene if you didn't see it. You'd be like, oh my god, was Nick Fury an alien the whole time or something like that? Obviously, if you see, if you saw Captain Marvel, it'd be a little bit more understandable as to what the hell just happened. It's still weird to me because I got so many questions. Was Nick Fury a Skrull the whole time? Since when? Maybe since... I'm just assuming it was the whole film that he was a Skrull. I'm assuming after Endgame, after coming back, he just said, fuck this, and then went, to that base and had some Skrulls play as him. But what if it was even before that? What if the one that vanished in the Infinity War credit scene, what if that was a Skrull? What if it was from Winter Soldier after we thought he died? What if that's when he did it? It could have been any time. What if it was just this entire goddamn series he was a different person? Is that why Nick Fury felt so weird? in Captain Marvel. Like, he didn't feel like his own character. I mean, I guess because he was a lot younger, but you know, his personality felt a little off compared to the Nick Fury we're used to. I mean, that would be kind of weird if they did that. I wouldn't be too happy if that was the case. I'm hoping it was just his film that he was, you know, a scroll for. Even then, it kind of just, a rewatch on this film is going to be really odd. That's why rewatching this film is a necessity. I have to rewatch it like 50 times because there's just so many things I missed on the first way, and seeing it again is just going to open up so many eyes, and I can't wait for that. Can't wait for it to see it again. I'm probably see it again in a few days, actually. What else? J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons coming back as J. Jonah Jameson. Awesome. I was clapping so fucking hard during that scene. I was like, yo, my boy's back. That was great. That whole end credit scene, though, with Mysterio revealing Peter Parker's identity and then just acting like Spider-Man was, you know, causing the problem, that's going to lift some goddamn heads for this next Spider-Man film. Or I don't know if we're going to get another, you know, Spider-Man cameo in any film before that, but if we have to wait till next Spider-Man, what the hell's going to happen? You know, I'm confused and kind of intrigued as to what is going to happen. Locations. Let's talk about locations, because it was definitely very different than any Spider-Man, because every Spider-Man before this took place in New York City. It took place right in the heart of New York City. You had the sequences in New York City. You had all sorts of action in New York City. This is the first film to go somewhere different, and that's why they titled it Far From Home. I liked it because it was different. I did, but then I also didn't like it because it was different. Like, I wanted to see New York City. I wanted to see some action within the city. I wanted to see at least one action sequence within New York City, but we really didn't see that, unfortunately. But yeah, it's Far From Home. You got to have them in different places, and they had some cool locations like the London Bridge, a couple of those other places. They were cool locations, and to the point where I was just fine with it, and I was okay with different locations for the action sequences, which, like I said, weren't my favorite in this film. But the story, the writing, the dialogue, I liked Happy Hogan's character in this film. I liked how he's having this like relationship with Aunt May. That's funny. I liked the conversations between Peter and Quentin before he obviously revealed his plan to the audience, and then we knew he was a bad dude. Like I said, I loved Peter and MJ. There's just a lot of good things, not many bad things. So this film definitely gets like a 9.2 out of 10 for me, probably. It's probably like my 5th favorite MCU movie, honestly. Still doesn't beat Endgame, Infinity War, Civil War. I don't think it beats The Winter Soldier. I don't even think it beats Guardians of the Galaxy yet, but it's probably number 6 then, in my ranking of all MCU films. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about Spider-Man Far From Home in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.